Hi everyone, yet again, it has been a hot minute. This video is going to be the making of my Jinx costume. I made this costume back in 2021, 2022, I think maybe 2021, I can't remember at this point. I had watched season 1 of Arcane with my boyfriend at the time, now husband, and I was obsessed with it. Still am, now that season 2 has aired and finished. One of my favorite shows of all time, so I had to cosplay as Jinx. She's my favorite character. I've loved her since 2013 when the music video came out, so I needed to cosplay as her and loved her design in the show. And it was the first costume I had made after making Thor and Oakenshield, so I was still getting back into the swing of making costumes again, and there are definitely some parts of this costume that I want to remake, repair, or redo in the future. This costume is also special to me because in I think 2022, for the 1 year or 2 year anniversary of Arcane, also can't remember, for the anniversary of Arcane, Riot reached out to me to share my Jinx costume on their social media pages. So I thought that was pretty sweet and is definitely a very special memory to me. And yeah, so this is the making of my Jinx costume. If you like what you see and want to see more, consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel because I am planning on posting more in the new year. Thank you for checking this video out and enjoy the video. First of all, I started making my Jinx pants. Didn't like how they turned out, remade them, and then I hand painted them with fabric paint. And as you can see, the stripes are much smaller in my Jinx pants than the actual design for Jinx. I reused fabric from my Molly costume. I always try to reuse fabric whenever I can, and I was lazy, so I didn't want to buy any more fabric. Then for Jinx's top, I also didn't have any muslin or like big paper, so I used trash bags, and I patterned out a top using an existing top I already had, and then I started transferring that into the actual faux leather fabric, and then the inner lining is just this quilted fabric that I also had laying around. Then I hand sewed a lot of the straps together and then added the detailing with project foam, and I had painted that project foam. The rest of the costume is pretty simple with the pants and then adding those flap bits on top, and then the arm sleeves, which are just, sewing tubes that fit your arm, and then just distressing everything, also making the belts, and then making any of the little details like the X across your chest. I just used white fabric I had laying around, and I tacked it in some areas so it kept its shape, and all of the quote-unquote metal bits is just project foam / EVA foam that I painted gold or silver and then glued onto the costume. And then I distressed everything. I wanted to add some more texture into my costume as well, instead of it just having the same faux leather black fabric throughout. I had some leftover faux snakeskin black leather that I used for, I think, my Thor and Oakenshield, so I used that in Jinx as well. The wig was just a wig that I bought on Amazon, and I ventilated the hairline a bit, and I added some lighter color hair wefts into the top part of the wig just to have more variation in tone, and then I got a bunch of extensions and I just added it to the wig and then braided everything, and then used Warbler to make the little hair accessories. The wig part I definitely want to remake and make it thicker, and then I'm going to sew mesh onto the braids so I don't have to ever re-braid them again. It'll save me so much time every time I want to cosplay Jinx. And I feel like her nails is a very small detail, but I think is very important, so I just hand painted press-on nails, and I made sure they looked messy and kind of chipped. For the boots, I just bought black boots as a base. I used leftover faux leather to attach those bits that flap down, like she folds her boots over. I had almost a perfect match of faux leather, so it was perfect. And then I got pink laces, laced those up, and then I made her little metal accessories out of EVA foam, which I painted. And then I went in and made a mud concoction, which you could just use coffee grounds, cut open some tea bags and throw some tea in there, mix it with glue and Mod Podge, brown paint, green paint, any kind of earthy tone paint, mix that all together and then just slap that onto your costume. I slapped it on the boots just to make it look like she was walking through mud, and once that dried, it doesn't come off. Now onto Fishbones. This one was a really big build that I just figured it out as I went. I used a bunch of EVA foam. I know usually you don't want to use like the other side of the mat where you see the detailing, but I thought it looked like metal, so I decided to use it anyway just for extra texture. I just patterned everything out myself, and then I just went ham, and I used a heat gun to seal the EVA foam, to shrink it up, and also to warp it. And then I just threw everything together. I sandwiched some of the fins with Warbler just so they were more solid and kept their shape, and made sure the jaw moved, and everything's really just made out of EVA foam and craft foam. The teeth I sculpted out of foam clay, and then I used a Dremel and a soldering iron just for extra detailing. And then I also glued everything together. Once everything was assembled, then I sprayed everything with a bunch of layers of Plasti Dip, and once that was fully dried, then I went in and spray painted everything. Once that was spray painted, then I went in with detail paint and hand painted the gold areas using Flexi paint, and then I used black fabric paint and Flexi paint to just distress everything and add more weathering and detailing. And then I bought these blue LED lights on Amazon, and I added those to Fishbones, and I added more LED lights to the inside so he glowed from within. Then for a last final detail for him, I had this leftover brown belt that I just glued on, since the original design for Fishbones in League of Legends, he has like this little belt, and I use a soldering iron to carve in Toxicat into the belt just for funsies. I also used Flexi paint in purple to paint that little purple detail, and then I used other fabric paint and Flexi paint to add her little spray paint, hand painted detailing into Fishbones. And that's Fishbones. For my Jinx tattoos, I only ever use fake tattoos from Aluna Creates. You can buy her tattoos on Etsy. I'll link them in the description of this video. And any other little detailing, like the neck part of her shirt that looks almost like a neck wrap, I just did it out of leather straps. And then her studs on her belt, I just bought studs and glued them on, and then the knuckle pieces I shaped out of Warbler and glued those on. And that's my Jinx cosplay. Definitely need some repairs and edits before I wear her again, but overall, she's definitely one of my favorite cosplays that I currently own and I've made, and I'm excited to wear her again. Thank you for watching!